it popped up on my screen, so I started watching it. Georgia and Michigan from the Orange Bowl, and there it was right before the half. Kirk Herbstreit talking about Kirby Smart, and just to frame it for a second, Matt, Georgia's up on Michigan. The game isn't over, but it's pretty close. Stetson Bennett and company have got the ball late. They're at like the 40, I think, and they don't know whether to go fast or not. This was certainly a sideline to quarterback problem in terms of communication. And Kirby's going crazy. Stetson and the offense are just like chilling out. We get to the break. Georgia doesn't move the ball at all, hardly, and that could have been it for the game. But the game felt like it was over anyway. Kirby runs over to Stetson, goes bonkers. We can't hear it. Kirk Herbstreit, as it's happening, says, the quote is, Kirby Smart is a tyrant. I did want to reflect on that now. At this point, 2 national championships later, and I believe one loss later from that moment. Tyrant is a strong word, and I know it was an over-exaggeration, but I just want to discuss that moment in time as well as, Kirk's reaction to it.
Well, first off, you can have good tyrants, right? Is tyrant specifically bad? If I had power,
I think it's probably bad.
If I had power, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead. This is good.
If I had some power, man, I would be a little bit of a tyrant, but I'd be good to my people. But tyranty, and I think Kirby is a little tyranty, like Mr. Kirk Herbstreit said, because you got to get bonkers. I mean, sometimes if that's you and that's you being genuine, you have to express that. And Nick Saban expressed that, and Will Muschamp expressed that. And you got to have that little tyrant in you, that little dictator tyrant, if you want to build a championship, if you want to build Rome, right? They had a few tyrants. I think they did pretty well, starting civilization and all. And
well, they didn't start civilization; they started democracy. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, one of them.
There's a difference.
And Kirby's building this program. I don't know with an iron fist, but it's his way.
With an iron fist. Yeah,
with an iron fist. He coaches his players hard, Ryan. He works his staff hard. He knows exactly what he wants, down to the detail. And it almost led to 3 straight national titles, but I don't mind it.
You see the emotion with Kirby, right? And it's very public and everything. And not every coach is like that, and not every really good coach is like that. But I think more than anything, it kind of shows how much he cares about it, and in turn, it kind of has led to a little bit of tyranny. But it's just nonstop. It's just always it's always at 100%, right? Even if it's just a meeting and it's calm, it's still a little bit intense. Everything, he wants everything to go a certain way, and they do the things that they have to do to make that happen. Really, more than anything, is they're not missing out on this one thing. They do it every single time. But nobody's spared on that practice field, right? Brock Bowers, I think, mentioned about a month ago, it made him nervous. Right? Kirby on the mic, even Brock Bowers, one of the best players in college football history, who he knows that he is also subjected to get screamed at and to get cursed at in front of everybody. So I think it keeps people on their toes. But I think it's fair to call it a tyranny. But you're right. I mean, it leads to good results for them. But this is supposed to be like modern day gladiators and everything, right? So it's kind of the same concept.
So the definition of a tyrant is a cruel and oppressive leader, cruel and oppressive ruler. I don't know if that's
too bad.
That's oppressive? Too bad. Is he oppressive? Might not be the right word.
I think he's certainly oppressive. Yeah. I couldn't quite frankly speak to the.
We can't watch practice. That's not cool.
Say that one more time.
We can't watch practice. That's not really cool.
Well, that may be, but
I think we're viewed as enemies. So
I think the biggest thing about that I think Ryan touched on is, or Matt, someone, you do have to be yourself, and what you see on the screen, in those moments, that's really how he is. Sometimes, so I have a collection, if you want to call it that. I have, with a few exceptions, I have every Georgia football game that was televised, many that were not, from about 1975 on. And so whenever you get vastly bored, you can just throw one on. And I was watching 96 Auburn, which was the game down there. And this was Kirby Smart's sophomore season. He was not a smart starter, but he was played defense. He was out there a little bit. This guy on the sideline, 1996, back when all of us were svelte and, didn't have concussions or whatever. This guy is running up and down the sideline, pads on, the whole deal. No helmet because he's not playing at that moment. I think the offense was on the field. I think it was Mike and them or Robert Edwards or somebody was coming off the field. And he's doing the same deal. Like, nothing's new here. And I think you have got to be who you are. And, Matt, his biggest, you cannot say he's not authentic. I mean, it would be inaccurate to say, oh, well, I mean, I don't know. He's definitely authentic. Either you like the authenticity or you don't. In recruiting, I think people can smell if you're not authentic. And I think it definitely hurts people that are not.
Yeah, I mean, I hear it all the time. You don't want to be fake. And I think that's the last term I would associate with Kirby Smart.
Correct.
He is who he is. A lot of people don't like him, but he's a football coach. That's a football guy who's going to give it everything he has, demands excellence. He's a great leader. He's a program builder, and he's an in-game coach. He knows the game and can call it and can work the clock. A lot of coaches can't work the clock during the game, and that's their biggest weakness. And Kirby does a good job of doing that. And when the game's on the line and he sees a fake punt coming from Ohio State in the semifinals, he can make that adjustment. He does everything well, and it's because he's running it and it's gone his way. I remember those Kirby Smart camps, Dean, in like 2016 that he was putting together, just getting people into the stadium. And even those were detailed, where the cones were for these high school kids who just paid to sign up, would never play college football. He didn't have to really care. He's got assistants and personnel for that stuff, but he was so involved. And that was my first indication of this is different compared to the other staff that came before him. This guy is locked in, and he's been locked in ever since.
This is everything he wants, right? Like, people always talk about if he was going to go to the NFL or, did Bama call him a couple months ago? What was that conversation like if they did? But this is, I mean, what else can you ask for if you're in the football world and he's been around Georgia a lot and that's what he loves. I mean, he wants to do this not just for him, but for everybody in the Georgia community. And it's a burden, a responsibility almost. I think that he understands that he's touching millions of people by what he's doing. I really do.
Well, I'll say this about the doing it for yourself versus the community. This is going to sound strange, but I'm going to try to explain it. He should only be doing this for himself. And here's why. It is great that he went to Georgia. It's great that he played at Georgia. But his responsibility is to himself first, because if he's doing that right, all the other stuff will take care of itself. He needs to make sure that, he's getting rest, that he's doing whatever he has to do. He's recruiting the right way, that he's coaching hard and doing all this stuff. You should not do it stuff. You should not live life for other people. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, you can have, it is more special. My opinion is, and there's no way to measure this, my opinion is that it is more special for him at Georgia than it was for Nick at Alabama. But I don't know, Matt. We can't, there's no dollar bill you can put and say, oh, I can measure this thing. So, but I think he's got to do it for himself. And I watched some Hurley videos. I always want to say Bobby Hurley. What's Bobby's?
Dan.
I'm watching Dan Hurley, and I'm talking about, this is before the national championship. Dan Hurley and the UConn Huskies just won their second national championship. They're beating everybody by 10 points or more. He spends from, I think, 6 to 9 or 6 to 8 in the morning working on himself. I think that's outstanding. And, those two are not dissimilar in the way that they coach. Jim Harbaugh and Kirby, I don't think, Matt, are similar. To me, There, so and Nick and Kirby were or are. I mean, but like Norvell and Kirby, no. Davo and Kirby, no. I mean, like, but Hurley and him, man, I was like, this is very similar to me.
Yeah. Um, they're doing so well up there. We talked about, would a three-peat at Georgia would be bad for college football. What UConn is doing right now, I love March Madness, and it didn't take away from that. But when you're beating everyone by double digits, I mean, that does go back to the culture and the environment of the program and that winning DNA that Kirby's built. You can definitely see it in UConn, the way they play. They play with such confidence and such detail. And yeah, they got some big dudes, but Dan Hurley recruited that. He brought that in for a reason, and it's working out extremely well. Who knows? They might do it again next year, but we could be talking about Kirby winning 3 out of 4 this time next year as well.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Dan. I think everyone's kind of starting more and more to make that comparison. He's kind of becoming like the Kirby of college basketball, but it's not just because of the back-to-back. It's because of the craziness and the mentality and how intense those practices look and how intense every moment kind of sees and detailed. We've seen that that is a way you can succeed in this sport. Or in sports in general. Not every successful coach is like that, but you're seeing more and more. You're as intense as it gets. It can work out.
Hey, I did want to say this, which is when you so the sort of the basketball haters, people say, oh, everybody just runs and shoots threes and tries to dunk, or just shoots threes. That is such a pedestrian argument. First of all, if you hit out of 10 shots, if you make 3 out of 10 that are threes, you're at 9 points. If you make 5 out of 10 or half, you've only got a 1 point lead over the team. So, I mean, like, it's just math, y'all. The 3-point game has been around forever. Secondly, when you watch UConn play, the cross screens and all this, I mean, I don't think football can be art. It doesn't seem like it to me. Basketball can, and the way that UConn executes is art. They know exactly what they're doing. They compete like crazy. I don't know what number 15 or 12. That guy was balling out, and he didn't look like it. So, I mean, it was amazing. It was an amazing exhibition of play. But I mean, I don't know what art is in football. I don't know if you can make that happen. But what UConn has been doing, that was beautiful basketball on Monday night. That's all I have to say about that. Thanks for watching.